This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap, here with Cody Carpentier for a Week 14 edition of the Waiver Wire Show. Sorry we couldn't get one up last week, but we just had a bunch of traveling and scheduling issues. Before we get started on the Waiver Wire Show, on what will be an important week, mainly for one player, got to remind you to go to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code ROSTER at sign up for a 25 or a 50% deposit bonus, now up to $1,000. They're making it even better. 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000 when you use promo code ROSTER. You can go there, use our Underdog and our player prop cheat sheets to go up on the weekends. We're hitting at 61% on the season so far. So you can use those picks. You can fade them. You can do whatever you want. Put them into Underdog, though. Make some entries. Support Underdog. Support us by going and using that promo code ROSTER at Underdog Fantasy. Especially if your fantasy season is starting to wind down or you're starting to have less teams to kind of worry about managing. It's a really, really fun way to make some cash and have some fun, get a bunch of fun sweats playing the pick'em games over at Underdog. Again, sign up using promo code ROSTER for 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. All right, Cody. So just start at the top. Just go ahead and move all your chips in and go get Isaac Guerendo, right? It's just that's the deal. Whatever you got left, just go get Isaac Guerendo. Of course, we know that Christian McCaffrey's set to miss probably the rest of the season with the PCL injury. And now Jordan Mason has a high ankle sprain, and he's going on IR, which leaves the 49ers with Isaac Guerendo, who, whenever he's been in, he's at, for us doing what we do, we do this all off season, right? We go watch all these players. We see these prospects. We get to interact with them and stuff. So, we all knew about Guerendo. We knew about his story. We knew about about how he started. Do you want to just go? People probably don't know about Guerendo except for what they've seen this year, which is a very, very explosive player. A lot of juice. And a guy that, I had a buddy text me whenever that first big run that Guerendo broke off. I forget which week it was, but he's like, holy cow, who is this guy? He's big and he's fast. We're like, well, we knew that from the combine. Can you just give people the background about Guerendo if they've just kind of not been following all through the offseason, all of our coverage?
Isaac Guerendo began his college career at Wisconsin behind Braylon Allen. He was there for 3 years. He had 1 year where he had, I think, north of 50 carries, transferred to Louisville, had 1,000 all-purpose yards from the line of scrimmage just last year in 2023. Fast forward to the combine, 6 foot, 220, runs a 4.33, 100th percentile speed scores type stuff, 99th percentile, 40. Ends up being a 4th-round pick, probably without that speed, probably somewhere in the 6th round, just kind of as a fine back. He had another draft pick in his backfield. Name is escaping me right now.
It's Juar Jordan.
Juar Jordan, there you go. He's down in Houston, and then I think he ended up on the practice squad in Houston for a little bit. But they liked him down there, and he was the guy he split backfield with in Louisville. Guerendo drafted in the 4th round by the San Francisco 49ers. He's kind of turning into, and I guess you could say, a decent similar comp from that specific team, the Niners, Elijah Mitchell, who ran in the 4.3s and was like, this guy's going to be something with this outside zone scheme downhill. And Guerendo showed us that in week 8 when he had 42 snaps, 21 routes, 14 carries, finished as RB10 on the week in fantasy football. So I think for the same, we talked about this, 2 weeks ago when the question was, should you drop Jordan Mason? The theory was, obviously McCaffrey's here. McCaffrey had yet to give you a week inside the top 10. He gave you an RB10, RB13. Should you draft Jordan Mason? No, because of potential injury. The process was right because McCaffrey obviously got hurt, but then also did Mason. So now the door opens up for Guerendo, this super athlete. This could be, when you look at strength of schedule tools and you look at matchups in the RosterWatch matchup tool down the stretch, the schedule is not top 5, but it's top 10, top 12 rest of season for running backs. So I think Guerendo as an all-in move, especially with what's available right now at the running back position. There's a bunch of guys that are like, yeah, I think that the idea of a Kamani Vidal, the idea of an Audric Estime in Denver, the idea of a Roshan, it's cool, But you get a starter right here in Isaac Guerendo in an offense that you know is going to run the football and has had injuries all season. This is like a gift for a lot of teams right now as they enter the fantasy playoffs.
It's a major gift. So if you're in a free agent, if you download the cheat sheet, you'll see our budget options. But just for the sake of the podcast, just go spend all your money on Guerendo, whatever you got left. They're going to have to call Patrick Taylor up off the practice squad to have just a second running back. He's going to as long as he stays healthy, we're looking at 20 touches a week.
Yeah.
So you got to go get him. And if you save your number one waiver priority, that's how you spend it. So if we just look ahead here, so this week, San Francisco gets the Bears. It'll be different, from week to week because the matchup tool is, it evolves with the games and it takes into account projected game scripts and Vegas lines and all that stuff like that. But just kind of going over it and just kind of back of the napkin math, that's a top 10 matchup for opposing running backs. He'll get the Rams. He'll get the Rams the week after that, which is a top 7 matchup for opposing running backs. He gets the Dolphins the week after that, which is a what is Miami this week? So that's a middling matchup. It's the number 16 matchup this week. So it'd probably be somewhere just right there in the middle. 16, of course, is right in the middle of 32. And then the Lions, which is super tough on Monday Night Football. And I believe, are we getting championship week? Is that the week right after Christmas?
That should be championship week right there. That Lions game week 17.
So it gets the Lions. Obviously, Lions super tough to run on, but that could be a game script where it's like, that could be a game script where it could be conducive to, scoring. So there will probably be a relatively high total in that game. So what's not to like, right? I'll tell you what's not to like is just any other running back, really. The only Cody, we were talking about it, man. It's like, do you really want to go get an Amir Abdullah or a Tyler Algier or one of these dudes in complementary roles? Or is it time to be stashing these dudes who are the Jalen Wrights and the Blake Corums and the types of players who, if you could get another earth-shaking Isaac Guerendo type week, except have that player on your roster instead of having to go spend all your money, or this week if you don't have any money left after Guerendo, or if you're out of money, you can be able to use him. You can just already have him.
Yeah.
So if you want to run down any running backs that you like before we talk about Thielen and some of these wide receivers,
I do. I think Ray Davis is probably. Ray Davis is the next one in line on the sheet, but I think Ray Davis is like the only other one that's like, hey, he's getting good run on a good team, and we think that he's going to continue to get good run. I know Byron will like that one. I think the other guys on the list, like you said, Jalen Wright isn't getting a lot of snaps right now. But as the season wanes, I could see more going that direction. And I think that he's one guy that if I have it, I'm just going to keep him. I'm just going to hold on to the guy and let him sit at the bottom of my lineup if something happens to Mostert or Achane. Further down, I guess you could watch Trey Benson. I think the Washington thing's interesting if you continue to keep an eye on Austin Eckler with McNichols and Chris Rodriguez. I'm not sure they're going to get it's so weird because it wasn't that good of a matchup. Tennessee's a tough matchup against the run, and Washington put like 260 or 270 on him as a team.
And it's Rodriguez. You can't move.
Robinson looks better, but two dudes that, gosh, and they just did what they wanted. So I thought that was interesting. Kind of going to keep an eye on that. The Las Vegas thing could get more interesting for us if Sincere McCormick doubles down this week. One other one, though, Alex, and I'm not even sure what the percentages look like right now as far as the ownerships. I probably should have done this before I came in here, but I just thought of it because I just saw a video of Bucky Irving Sunday walking off the field into the locker room with a massive like heating pad and like a rubber band, like a wrap around his hip, and he was limp and heavy walking into the locker room, Bucky Irving. And this week they have a juicy matchup against the Raiders.
They have juicy matchups every week, Cody.
Yeah. They got the Raiders and Panthers. They got the Panthers in the championship. And they got the Raiders this week and the Chargers and Cowboys in there. So like
that on Sean Tucker.
Yeah, Sean Tucker. I'm not sure what the ownership is on Sean Tucker. I'm assuming it's
that's probably like 2 or 3%.
So there's that. And if people are dumb enough to maybe dip out on some Rachaad White. I would be interested in gathering some Rachaad White if people. I mean, Rachaad White was efficient here. He didn't get all the opportunities like Bucky did because Bucky ripped off a 43-yarder, but Rachaad had a 38-yarder. They like all these guys, and they're going to play all these guys. They're going to be in the heat trying to win this championship, and then they're going to, or the NFC South championship, not much more than that, but NFC South championship, and they're going to be running the football. So if you can get your hands on anything in Tampa Bay from the running back perspective, I'd be trying to do that.
What's up to everybody in the chat? We got Joe Justice. We got the King in the North checking in. King in the North. He said, King in the North says, "Happy holidays." It's nut cracking time. That's right, brother. John in Cedar Park. John in Cedar Park has a question. He says, "Is Tracy staying in the doghouse? Is Singletary worth an ad?" Tracy fumbled a couple weeks ago. I don't know. Maybe Tracy's so much better. I'm not sure that.
I mean, doghouse or not, Devin Singletary hasn't had more than 20 snaps in a game since week 8.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's worth an ad, brother. All right. As far as wide receivers, I think Thielen belongs at the top of the list. I wonder if Jalen Coker coming back next week does anything I can't believe we're talking about these are. I don't know if Coker coming back next week does anything to that, or whether all that does is kind of maybe nuke David Moore in the role that he's had recently. Feels like Thielen, as long as he's out there, Bryce Young's going to target him. It's just it is what it is. He's old, he's dusted, but you probably should pick him up. You know what I mean?
People have been trying to write Thielen off for a decade, man, and this guy just keeps on one-hander. Game winning. I mean, game winning for a minute.
It's like Kelsey to a certain degree, right? People have been declaring his demise for the last 5 years, and not really wrongly so, I guess. But it's just some of these guys, they hold up. I wonder if I'd rather have Marquez Valdez-Scantling, because the target volume hasn't been there for him. But man, he scores touchdowns for those guys. I know that Nick Westbrook-Akine has scored touchdowns, but the thing is with Marquez Valdez-Scantling, if I'm looking between these two hyphenated last name players, I'm thinking, when they lost Taysom Hill, it's like, okay, so Taysom Hill's out. What else do they have? I don't know if Chris Olave even comes back this year. Have we heard anything about Olave? Like,
I don't think
if they've said that they were gonna even open anything up to bring him back, I don't know if when he gets off, if they're even gonna try and play him. So obviously, we don't have anything to play for.
6 days ago, the NFL.com reported he's in a good place and has no timetable for return. That was 6 days ago.
No timetable means, dude, let him sit out the rest of the year. He's had two or three concussions this year.
I think he's had 8 of them since college, in college till now.
Yeah, it's like, let the guy sit out. I mean, MVS, I know you hate to play him, and I wanted to mention to the people in the chat, if you guys have questions about who to drop, I have a list here of players. But if you have any players that you're wondering if you can drop to pick up any of these other guys, put them in the chat, and we'll make sure and ask Cody here in the final game. Those are the main two I'm thinking about, and then also, I guess, with CeeDee Lamb, he might be a little bit banged up, and you don't want to buy into the Cowboys offense right now. I don't think, but
hey man, I think there's a shot Dallas might try and rip off a couple here. It's going to screw them in the draft, but they're going to rip a couple off here.
Okay. Well, if that was the case, probably CeeDee Lamb, because he left on the Thanksgiving game. He came back in, though, didn't he, in the second half? I think he played, but he was limited. Let's see.
Bengals Panthers the next 2 weeks.
It's an ace. What?
Bengals Panthers the next 2 weeks. Pretty decent for receivers.
Yeah, it's an AC joint deal. I have not seen what Dr. David Chow or anybody says about this. Jerry Jones, who clearly wants to win, he wants to win. He told 105.3 The Fan, was it on? I guess that would have been on Friday. He said that the extra rest days between the Bengals game on December 9th, he thinks that he should be ready to go for the Bengals. But those AC sprains, we've seen that stuff sometimes keeps people out 2 weeks. And if that's the case, you would probably like to have Brandon Cooks versus the Bengals there with how miserable the rest of those guys all are. Brandon Cooks didn't have much of a game, but at least got in the box this last week. And what other guys? Do you have any thoughts about the Packers dudes? Both those guys are now under 55%. Dobbs and Watson.
Yeah, Packers are annoying. I love all these guys, but it's annoying on a weekly basis trying to project who's going to do what outside of, I guess, Jay Reed. But even Jay Reed hasn't been the most consistent. With Wicks running 23 routes, Christian Watson 27, Dobbs ran 14 last week. Dobbs been dealing with an injury. I kind of want to stay away, but I kind of want to just like pick and choose on a weekly basis. But that I know that's not exactly how waivers works. I mean, on a weekly basis, you're going to get, if they're all available, a chance to pick and choose. But I think we have Thursday night game this week against the Lions, Sunday night next week against Seattle, and Monday night the following week against the Saints. So they're all going to be standalone games. I don't really have a preference, to be honest, Alex. Watson by a touch, I guess, would be my preference of the Packer guys not named Jaden Reed.
All right. And then there's also the other guys you can sniff around. It's maybe kind of about time to start sniffing around Keon Coleman, seeing if he could make a return as the Bills start to make a little bit of a run here. Cedric Tillman looks like I'm sure he'll be back next week. That's just a concussion. And we saw last night, Jameis having to put the guys having to just throw that thing all over the place. Tillman coming back in could be helpful there. So just some dudes to keep an eye on. I know people are going to talk about Parker Washington. I can't. It's like that.
We talked about him, a month ago, 3 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, but he didn't hit, and he didn't hit, and he didn't hit, and it took this abomination of where Trevor Lawrence gets hurt and Mac Jones comes in and Mac Jones throws the ball 30 times. It's just a random thing. And then all of a sudden he pops up on the red zone. You're watching red zone and it's like Christopher Washington, 100 yards. And you're like, who the hell's Christopher Washington?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. All right. The tight end. You
I only want one guy.
Yeah.
I think the only guy that I want is Juwan Johnson in New Orleans. Obviously, we've seen the utilization of Taysom Hill for the last month, but Taysom Hill is obviously now hurt. Juwan Johnson coming out of the bye this last week ran 31 routes, targeted 6 times. He was tight end 22 in week 11 before the bye. He was tight end 9. He's shown you last year and this year his ability to finish as a top 10 guy in fantasy. Now there's no Taysom Hill. Foster Moreau is there. But they like Juwan Johnson. They target him down the middle of the field on a deep shot. And I think Juwan Johnson's I've always kind of compared him to like a poor man's Darren Waller. Hasn't quite lived up to that, but there's plenty of, injuries to go around in New Orleans where the opportunities are going to continue to rise. And as far as like the schedule strength, I think of the tight end position, I think New Orleans is going to be up there. I think they're like a top 5, top 6 rest of season for the tight end position.
We have a couple trade questions here before we get into the game. Before we get into also, I saw that Caleb Williams today on Yahoo dropped to only 55% owned. So if he's out there, go get Caleb, especially if you have like a CJ Stroud.
Not worried about the weather?
I think that offense looks kind of productive ever since Waldron left. He's got good weapons. I think he's kind of getting better.
I think these next 2 games are on the road. In San Fran and then in the Vikings dome, but then they have the semifinals and the championship is going to be outdoors at home.
That could be a little bit
but at least for the next 2 weeks, if he's available and you need somebody, there's buys.
I mean, I would dabble around and looking at maybe picking up Caleb.
Yeah, I wouldn't unload the clip, but I mean, if you do need a quarterback, there's buys this week. I agree. I would do it.
Would you trade Rachaad White for Jacoby Myers?
2 running back through, so have Bucky, Bijan, Ken, Higgins, DJ Moore, Sutton, Downs.
So he has
I would keep Rachaad White.
Yeah, I would keep him too. Let's see. Hold on. This guy's saying you and every other channel love to skip my questions. My God, peace out. Well, maybe it's because you act like a fool. Don't come in here and talk rude to people. I'm just now getting to answer questions.
This isn't called an AMA. It's not an AMA. It's a show. We'll get to them when we get to them.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm not answering it now though. So
That's
we'll
what
see
you
you
get.
later. Hey guys, I have a trade question if that's okay. Getting offered Cup for Kane, so he's getting Cup for Walker. If I accept his playoff roster, would be Lamar, Kyron, JT, Jefferson, Cup, Kittle, Zay Flowers. So otherwise, it would be he would have. This is a question to me of whether you want to have Zay Flowers or or it's about the flex, right? Because it's be just JT or Kyron or Walker in the flex as opposed to Zay Flowers and getting so I'm guessing an upgrade from his wide receiver 2 to Cup.
Yep.
I don't know who his current wide receiver 2 is.
Flowers.
Oh yeah, Flowers. What do you think?
I don't think it's bad.
I'm not sure I would want to go do it, but I don't think it's terrible. I think it's fine if you want to do that.
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I'm not sure I would, but I think it's fine. I think it's fine. So yeah, we wish you the best of luck there. Let's see. Considering my zero, so he's saying so somebody has a $0 budget remaining. He's asking about Kyle Juszczyk. I would just say
No, I mean,
I don't think if you're going to do that and you're really slumming down at the bottom, I might take a shot on Patrick Taylor. He's like the new San Francisco backup, and he could get some work in the receiving game. We haven't really seen Isaac Grindo used in that way, so they could kind of deploy him like that. That's what I would sniff around Patrick Taylor for just a free bid.
mm-hmm.
All right, Cody, can you drop him? Okay, some of these guys are injury dudes. Okay, Austin Eckler.
No,
Even though he's on IR,
but
you going to play Austin Eckler his first week back from IR in your championship?
I kind of want to. I guess. I think it's close. I wouldn't do. I think I would put him on my IR. I don't think I would cut him. You know what I'm saying? Like if I have an IR, I'm putting him on my IR. He's showing you in that offense, and this team's going to be competing for a wild card. That one game is worth it to me to hold him.
J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I'd cut him.
Jordan Mason.
Yeah, I'd cut him.
Taysom.
Yep.
Tyler Lockett.
I mean, dude, Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think he's taking all of his cornbread. I think you can cut Tyler Lockett.
Demario Douglas.
No, they got a good schedule rest of the season. I think you're fine with Demario's he's a good receiver, man. He hasn't given you a ton. Butte's been getting a lot of targets, but I think there's room down the stretch. You could do worse than Demario Douglas.
Would you drop him for Thielen?
Yeah.
Okay. Quentin Johnston.
I'm still not convinced he has hands, but yeah, I think I'd
drop him.
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts.
I can't drop Kyle Pitts, man.
Devon Vele.
Yeah.
Somebody asked about Bo Nix.
No.
Tank Bigsby. And Bo Nix has not been running.
No, he hasn't the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But also week 11 and 12, he was QB4 and QB8. So
Tank Bigsby.
It's his first week not inside the top 15 since week 4. Tank Bigsby. Yeah, you can cut him. That team's garbage.
Roma Dunze.
No.
Gus Edwards.
No.
Jonathan Brooks.
I've never been under the assumption that they're going to push him into a big workload. I think they're going to give him a standard amount and they're going to slowly see what he can take on a weekly basis. I think you could hold him because I think they're trying to be smart with it. And I think he's going to give you a little bit here. but this is still Chuba's show. So if you can get your hands on a Ray Davis, if you can get your hands on a Garendo, I would cut Jonathan Brooks.
Amari Cooper.
That receiving core is so bad you can't.
Kareem Hunt.
Not yet. We'll see. I want to see what Pacheco looks like. I want to see what this split looks like.
We kind of saw.
But
Not going to be anything like it was.
I want to see more.
And two people in the chat have asked about this one guy. Can they drop Javonte Williams?
No.
This is Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to Roster Watch.
This is A.